University of Atlanta, from MARTA, and from the City of Savannah. First, we're going to have Ryan Van Sickle from MARTA come up for us. Ryan is the Director of Technical Service and Planning. In his 18 years of transit planning, he's worked in bus service planning, bus stop improvements, and geospatial analysis, passenger information, and a wide variety of projects. He is a graduate of Georgia State University, and outside of his official duties is an all-around transit enthusiast and history buff. So please welcome Ryan Van Sickle.
All right, thanks Kayla, thanks everybody, and good morning. Appreciate allowing me to be part of your morning in such a wonderful environment here. So I'm Ryan Van Sickle, Director of Technical Services and Service Planning at MARTA, and I want to start off just by asking, how many of y'all have ever ridden MARTA at all? Just right, show of hands. Okay, awesome. How many of y'all have ever ridden a MARTA bus? Okay, awesome. Well, that's great, because I'm going to talk a little bit about MARTA in general, and then I'm going to talk a lot about our next-gen bus network redesign project, and then close out with just a few other updates of things happening in the MARTA universe around it. So, just some quick facts. So MARTA is the largest public transit agency in the state of Georgia. We're actually one of the largest agencies in the nation. We operate a multimodal system with 4 modes. We have a 48-mile heavy rail network with 38 stations. We have an extensive local bus network that you'll be hearing a lot more about in the next few minutes, with about 113 routes today. We use about 500 buses to serve 9,000 stops across 3 counties in the city of Atlanta. We operate the Atlanta streetcar in the center of downtown Atlanta, and we also operate MARTA Mobility, which is our paratransit service for elderly and disabled folks that require more specialized transportation. So you've probably heard a number of things about MARTA, and hopefully among those you've heard that we have one of the best airport connections in the country for rail. We serve a lot of Atlanta's major activity and employment centers, destinations like most of the sports arenas and convention centers, and we've also been working hard to develop around our stations and create more destinations for people to go to there. But you may also not have heard a whole lot about our bus network over the years, and we've been working really hard for the last 3.5 years or so to produce a plan that will make it a lot better. So that brings me to the next gen bus network redesign. Like I said, we've been working on this for about 3 years, but it's kind of an interesting echo. If you go all the way back to the beginning when MARTA purchased the Atlanta Transit System in 1972, one of the first things that MARTA did was a comprehensive network redesign. Looking at where the routes should go, we reduced the fare, we installed a whole bunch of bus shelters, and we changed frequencies through the whole system. That network was adjusted and expanded as the rail was built so that we had good connections between the different modes. And it carried us through some really major events like the 1996 Olympics in the middle photo there. That's actually a bus dropping off a crowd at the Olympic Stadium, then Turner Field, then Georgia State Stadium, which will now be served on our Summerhill BRT. It's also weathered some pretty tough times too. The Great Recession in the late 2000s was really hard on transit, as was COVID-19, which kind of flipped a lot of public transportation on its head. So while all that was happening, it was really kind of a gradual evolution in how we enacted a lot of service changes. We do gradual things 3 times a year. And unlike the regular kind of cadence, this project is looking to do a comprehensive, all-at-once service change and roll out a new service plan for nearly our entire network all at once. We think it's probably the largest of its kind since we started in the 1970s. So why do we want to do this? The shortest answer is really because things change. Atlanta's constantly growing and shifting and evolving. Demographics change, where people live and work change. There's all kinds of new employment centers popping up, especially with distribution and other types of industries that are growing. And we want to make sure that our network connects people to all of those jobs and opportunities. We also want to make sure that it's connecting people to other types of things that they need to travel for. School, groceries, the doctor, going to church, seeing family. All of those things are important. So we want to make sure that this project also improves how the network works with itself. It's not just a collection of routes working kind of around each other. We want these to be an integrated system that works well together to carry people farther. Over time, we know there's inefficiencies in the bus network as well, and this gives us a chance to work on that and really strengthen service in the places where people are using it and need it the most. And overall, we want to create a smarter, better, and faster network for people through this project. There are really 5 principles kind of at work that really drove this. The first is that we want the new bus network that we're designing to increase access. We want to be able to take more people, more places in less time. and of course, increasing ridership and providing positive economic and environmental benefits as a result. But we also want to do that equitably, so we've kept a very close eye on the outcomes for disadvantaged communities as we've gone through the planning process. We want this new bus network to be future-facing. We don't want it just to be a reaction to the ridership data that we see, but we also want it to be something that kind of anticipates and encourages ridership as the city grows around it. And I'll briefly step aside to talk about the balance part of it. We really want to find the right kind of balance point between how we allocate our resources. Do we want to run a network that has more frequent service but might be a little bit leaner? Or for the same kind of resources, do we want to have a larger, more expansive transit system, but one that we can't necessarily afford to run as often? So we wanted to find the right kind of balance between generating ridership and making sure that we were still covering enough kind of geographic ground in this network. Lastly, our board advised us, keep challenges in mind. We certainly know a project like this one is kind of complex and challenging, but ultimately, at the end of the day, we're changing nearly every bus route we have. And so that's going to present some challenges to some of our riders and customers as they work to adjust to the changes as well. So the design process took about 3.5 years, and we started in the concept phase where we really presented two completely hypothetical transit networks to the public. One of them was a much leaner, kind of faster network, about half the size of the one we run today, that was very, very focused on running high frequency service that would be very attractive to ridership. On the other hand, we presented a second hypothetical network that was more focused on geographic coverage. It was a little bit larger than what we serve today, but of course, using the same budget, it stretched those resources a bit thinner, so you just didn't really have too many routes running very frequently as a result. What we heard back from the public was a strong preference for the ridership-focused network and more frequent service, but I'd say we had a significant minority of responses that were also very concerned about the possibility of coverage loss. And so where we landed was kind of a balancing point in the middle. It's a step towards a more ridership-focused frequent system than what we run today, but also while incorporating key elements of coverage as we go through it. With the feedback from the public, we started our network design activities. And so there was a ton of data involved, as you can imagine, ridership data of all kinds. We looked at population and employment and land use, affordable housing, the locations of senior centers, but we also included local representatives from just about every municipality that we serve, plus the state, as well as some of the other transit agencies in the Atlanta region. And that really helped us enact that future-facing principle so that we were able to hear directly from them about developments that would be coming, transportation projects that would be built, some of those making it easier for us to run full-size buses on certain roads, certainly others making it a little bit more difficult. So we were able to incorporate a lot of great feedback to enact that future-facing principle. We also, after that, we took it out to the public for an extensive public engagement period. We spent about 3.5 months in over 50 public meetings. We had pop-ups at our stations. We had canvassers on buses asking people what they thought and trying to get suggestions. And we got a pile of feedback. We had, I think, over 4,000 different survey results, and then we had 3,000 individually written up comments with suggestions and concerns about the changes that we had proposed. That was a really great source of inspiration for us, even if they were things we couldn't afford to do, but we were able to skim through that and find a lot of ideas that we were able to incorporate into the final draft of our network. With the completion of the final draft, we took it to our board, and I'm happy to share that they actually approved us last month to go ahead and make this a reality. So we have the green light to go ahead and implement the new plan. So with all that, what is the new network? And essentially, one of the biggest picture items about it is that it is a more frequent network. This bus system will be able to connect people, almost 3 times as many people, with frequent bus service. And by that, we really mean a route or a kind of combination of routes that can operate every 15 minutes or more often throughout most of the day. This brings a lot of major improvements to transit service for minority and low-income communities. It also makes it a lot easier to access employment, jobs, and all of those things that we want people to use transit for. So kind of how the network will do this is a collection of kind of key design strategies. In addition, just to more frequency at all of those different layers, the routes are designed to be simpler. They're more straightforward. They wander a lot less through neighborhoods, which can often present slow turns and things that make travel times longer. And in a lot of cases, we've been able to combine or condense routing together so that you can go farther on the same route and eliminate the need for transferring from one bus to another. There is still a need for that, and so in strategic places around the network, we've designed time transfer connections, essentially to do what we call a pulse transfer. Multiple buses will come together from various parts of town. They'll arrive at about the same time so that you can hop off of your first bus, walk to your second bus, which should already be there waiting, and then they'll depart and fan out again. At those locations, we're also looking to make some investments in pedestrian infrastructure too, to make those transfers safer and make sure that they're accessible. There's a big difference in the scheduling for this bus network. So compared to the way that transit has traditionally worked, where you have a big, heavy influence or focus on kind of 9 to 5 peak commuting times, this network will have more consistent frequency through most of the day and all of the week. So when you look at the frequencies in the next few slides on these maps, you're seeing what it would be like in the middle of the day, the early evening, on a Saturday or a Sunday, which really helps unlock the travel potential for people who aren't working 9 to 5 jobs or who are using it to get to school or to do errands. So we think that this new network is going to be more usable for all kinds of travel. And a really big change is that we're also incorporating for the first time on-demand service. So you've probably heard under the term microtransit as well, but we've designed 12 on-demand zones into this network that for lower density places or places where it's hard to operate a big full-size transit bus, then it'll come to you, it'll pick you up, and within half an hour deliver you somewhere in the neighborhood within the zone you're starting from, or it can connect you to another MARTA bus route or a rail station for travel further afield. So all of that adds up to more access to more places in less time, and we'll take a look at how in just a minute. So the maps can be a little bit tricky. You can imagine trying to design an easily readable bus map with 113 routes for a PowerPoint slide. And I don't know that we got it. What I'd like to try to draw your attention to is the color coding. Where you see red on that map, that represents a service that operates every 15 minutes or more often. And in this map, we have 113 bus routes, and you really don't see too many red lines. Actually, you only see them in 5 places, and a few of them are quite short if you can see them. We have 20-minute kind of near frequent service in about another 9 places in the network, and then we have 5 peak hour only routes that operate just during weekday rush hours, a very tailored service. But that's where we are today. You see a lot of light blue and green that represents 40 or 45 or even 60-minute intervals between buses. Presenting you with the, well, there would be a map there. Not sure what happened there. Similar span to this map here, similar scope, but we have 81 fixed routes in the new network map, about 12 on-demand zones, so we have a total of 93 services, and then 20-minute service on another route. But the really big difference is that up from where you saw very little red in the previous map, you would see a lot of red on this map. We have 15 corridors where we have 15-minute service or better. And then we have those 12 on-demand zones that'll provide coverage in some of the most difficult places to serve. Again, it'll operate basically all day and then flatter frequencies without any additional peak-only service. So what will the network do for people? We took a close look at what we thought that the network would do, and essentially one of the first things we saw is that it serves more people than the network today, just overall. It serves 6% more people, which is over 38,000 additional people. A lot of that is thanks to the microtransit service that's part of the network. We also talked about, mentioned that it serves almost 3 times as many people with frequent 15-minute service. That totals about 74,000 additional people who have access to frequent service. And then looking at 30 minutes, which is of course not as convenient or easy to use as 15-minute service, but is still regular, dependable, we see an additional 143,000 people that would have access to that compared to the network today. Looking at how that breaks down for minority residents of our system, we've seen almost an additional, or over 49,000 more people who have access to frequent service in the new bus network, which is a 175% increase compared to today, a pretty high outcome that we were very pleased with. Looking at low-income residents, it's over 20,000 people who have access to service in the new network that's frequent compared to today, and then another 32,000 people who have access to that 30-minute service level, which is another major gain. Looking at how it plays out for job access, the new network will serve 97% of the jobs that the current network does, so close to all of them. But when you look at how many additional riders, or how many jobs rather, would have frequent service, it's over 76,000 additional jobs that will be served with buses every 15 minutes or more often. All that breaks down to about a 22% increase in the number of jobs that the average resident can reach in an hour's travel time on transit. And you can see those dots in the map here. You see kind of a widespread series of green dots indicating people who have an increased access to jobs under the Next Gen Bus Network. Breaking that down for specific groups, we see a 23% increase in job access for minority and low-income folks, and an 18% increase for folks who don't have a personal vehicle or a car of their own. So again, really important improvements that we see in this new bus network. But it wasn't just about jobs. So we also looked at all kinds of other destinations and how people would fare getting there. And so looking at the map, you see the same kind of map as the job access map here, with a widespread increase in access to grocery stores that carry fresh food. So the average person would be able to reach 27% more of those for 1 hour of their time, as well as 21% more universities and 31% more hospitals that have emergency care. And to try and give you just a real-world example, imagine that you're waiting on the side of Clifton Road near Emory University in DeKalb County. Emory and the CDC are one of the biggest employment centers in the region that doesn't have rapid transit access or expressway access. And so right now, using our local bus system, if you look at the purple blob on this map, and there's a little bit of pink on the fringe, you can see the area that you can reach in an hour under the transit network today. That's about 190,000 jobs reachable from that point in an hour. If you look at the blue area that kind of fans off of it in all directions, that's the area that you could reach in addition under the new bus network. You can get much farther up towards Sandy Springs, Brookhaven, much further into the city of Atlanta and West Atlanta, much further into South DeKalb and East DeKalb counties. And we think overall that looks like it's an addition of 258,000 more jobs that you could reach from that one point if you were traveling in an hour, or about 238,000 additional people that you could reach using the new bus network compared to today. So while this is a very route-focused project, because we're changing almost all of the routes, it's also about trying to make sure that we're supporting them with appropriate infrastructure. And so we do have a package of infrastructure improvements coming that will help adapt what we have on the street already to the new bus network, and in addition to that, work on closing infrastructure gaps to provide better customer experiences, especially when we have transfers. Some of these are just practical upgrades. We just recently, in the last few years, replaced all of our bus stop signs with a new model that has route numbers and destinations for every single one, which means we're about to have to change almost all of them because we're changing almost all of the routes. We're also going to be working to, at stops that are closing, where we have shelters or benches, we'll be taking those up and working to redeploy them across the new bus network. As far as transfer facilities, we have some improvements we're working on there too. On the left, you can see an example of one of the park and ride lots that we use. And in the photo, you can see a pretty clear desire path to a gap in the fence. So heavily used, but not really designed for that. We're planning to upgrade that with a formal ADA accessible pedestrian entrance that will lead you to an expanded bus platform that will be able to handle some of those pulse transfers that I mentioned a little bit better. On the right, you can see an example of a roadside environment in DeKalb County where we're looking to install some bus layover space, sidewalks, and a pedestrian crossing to make sure that when those buses come together, there's a place for them and it's easy for passengers to transfer from one to the other. And there are a number of places where we'll be working with our local municipalities or the state DOT to try and adjust intersection geometry and make sure that buses can safely and quickly make turns so that we have an easier time operating and certainly have less conflicts with other drivers. You can see an example here where there is a very short and narrow left turn lane that sometimes kind of creates a face-off between one of our buses that has to swing out and make a right turn while cars are queued up to turn left. On the right, you see an example of a place where we'd be looking to do a pedestrian improvement that'll provide better access to the bus stops in this network. It's already got a shelter. The stop itself is outfitted reasonably well, but there's no ADA compliant path or sidewalk to get to it. So we'd be working to install a sidewalk and an ADA ramp on the curb to make sure people can get to it safely. So as far as the Next Gen project, we just got our board approval. I'm not going to try and describe what you can imagine is a pretty substantial to-do list in the background of the things that we're getting ready to do. But we will be doing a lot of rider education and public outreach as we get ready to launch this by the end of the year. So please keep an eye out for that. And then after it launches, we'll be kind of keeping a close eye on how it's working. We've heard from other transit agencies who've done this that there's always a couple surprises in the first few weeks of operation. And so we're going to be closely monitoring so that we can make adjustments and tweak the network after it starts running. And so while that's certainly been a huge part of my life for the last few years, there are a million other things going on at MARTA. So things that are kind of happening around the project include a few of these updates. One is the Summerhill Bus Rapid Transit Project. This line has been built into the next-gen bus network and has, this project will operate along Hank Aaron and Capitol Avenue south of downtown Atlanta to the Beltline. Buses will travel mostly in their own dedicated lanes so that they'll be able to travel smoothly and freely of traffic. The stations will be pretty substantial. They'll have elevated platforms, a large structural canopy, some amenities like off-board fare collection to keep the buses moving faster. And the buses themselves are starting to arrive. You can see on the left one of the brand new all-electric buses. It's a new purple paint scheme for MARTA. And so you'll start to see those around later in the year. As far as new vehicles go, we have new trains that are starting to arrive. And so you may have seen some news about this earlier this year, but that photo on the left is actually a photo, not a CG rendering, of our new CQ400 rail car. So on the right, that's a photo of the interior. You can see it's a more modern design, certainly brighter with better lighting, a lot more color, but it's also one long open gangway design so that the train is kind of one long compartment, which is both more spacious, but also easier to secure and police. We're working on station rehabilitation projects all over our system. One of the most notable is the 5 Point station downtown where all 4 of our lines connect. It's our biggest and busiest station. And so up on the upper levels, we'll be systematically deconstructing the concrete canopy that was built in the 1970s, the old roof structure, and replacing it with this new, more open, airy, modern design. The top 2 levels will be completely rebuilt, so we'll have a new home for our ride store and our lost and found and a whole bunch of other passenger services. Underground on the platform levels, and we're already in the process of overhauling, so if you've been through there anytime recently, hopefully you've seen new floors going in, new ceilings, new lighting treatments, and new walls. It's going to look like a new station inside when it's done. And then last, I already mentioned the on-demand service because it's such an integral part of the next-gen bus network, but with this, then you'll be able to use an app similar to ride sharing or a simple phone call if you prefer. The vehicle will come pick you up within half an hour. It'll take you to anywhere in the zone that you're starting from, or if you want to go further, it can connect you to a MARTA station or to one of the other frequent bus lines or transfer points. So this is a really exciting new thing for us. This will be the first time that we've permanently operated a service like this. And there's a lot more going on that I won't be able to get into today, but more station rehabs, replacement of our fare collection system, a new bus garage, and then a lot of preparations for the World Cup. So there's plenty more. But I hope you've learned something interesting about MARTA and our network redesign project. Please feel free to check out our website for more information, and I hope that you give it a try once we launch it later this year. Thanks, all.
So much, Ryan. So for the sake of time, we will save questions for the end. So next, we have Kaven Payton from the City of Atlanta. So Kaven is dedicated project manager with the Atlanta Department of Transportation, currently leading key initiatives tied to the city's preparations for the FIFA World Cup. Within nearly 2 years of service of the City of Atlanta, his career spans over a decade in the transportation sector, including previous roles in portfolio manager at MARTA and project coordinator with the Gwinnett County Transit. Driven by a passion for public service and community development, Kaven combines operational expertise with a strategic vision for urban mobility. He holds a bachelor's degree in human resources and a master's degree in public administration and is actively pursuing his project management professional certification and further enhancing his project leadership capabilities. Outside of his professional work, Kaven enjoys watching basketball, playing golf, and spending quality time with his family. So let's welcome Kaven.
Thank you, Kayla, for that amazing introduction. I didn't even know all of that stuff about myself, but I'm going to get right into it. Again, my name's Kevin Payton. I serve as a project manager for the city of Atlanta. At first, when I got on board, I was about to build sidewalks and all of that, but Commissioner Cabinet tapped me on my shoulder and told me that I had to lead all the efforts for the FIFA World Cup. So, thanks, Commissioner. All right, so I'm gonna get into our downtown transportation infrastructure strategy. So, as everyone knows, we do have the World Cup coming. So the city of Atlanta and other host cities are preparing for the globally visible FIFA World Cup and other large special events post-World Cup. And it's critical for the city to make infrastructure investments that will provide immediate and long-term benefits for our residents and visitors. As a reminder, we have 5 group stage matches, 2 knockout matches, and 1 semifinal match will be our final match for FIFA World Cup. Next, I'm going to get into a schedule of those events. We're going to start June 15 of next year, and again, we'll have about, I'll give everybody a second to take a photo of that. As you guys know, I'm extremely tired and stressed out for FIFA, but we're gonna get through this together. All right, all photos done? All right, we'll move on into a summary of all of our activations around the city. So some of the general updates, we just started a beautification committee. And basically this committee is just compiling a lot of information about projects to be completed before World Cup comes. The strategy is simple. We're just trying to look at locations and costs to try to implement certain strategies. It's being led by the City of Planning, but we meet, this is incorrect, we meet as often as we need to meet in order to get everything right, to strategize around what beautification project types that we are looking to activate. Some of those include murals and other artistic elements. We got underpass lighting. I'm going to get into that a little bit later in the presentation. We have wayfinding, creative placemaking, banners, and plantings or planters that we're going to be installing around the city as well. I'm just going to go through a couple of general updates about our downtown infrastructure projects. So our resurfacing efforts, they're underway. The first project that we completed is on MLK Boulevard, and you'll see that later on in the presentation. But we also have activations around Peachtree Center, Ave currently, Baker Street. We're looking to resurface pretty soon, possibly next week, and then we'll finish our Group 1 phase with Jesse Hill Jr. Ave. Our wayfinding partnership with AEID is ongoing. We're in the process of finalizing our conceptual design there. The partnership with Georgia Power, our Light Up the Night program, is about substantially complete. Next, we're going to start addressing City of Atlanta-owned bridges and underpasses for lighting. So we're currently doing an assessment for that to identify locations and innovative lighting options that we could do to increase some safety around the city. Again, partnership is everything. So we partner with our utility companies pretty often, and we meet weekly and monthly, bi-weekly with Atlanta Gas Light, Georgia Power, AT&T, etc. And basically whoever is going to be doing projects around the city at the same time as us to make sure that we're in constant coordination. We have some traffic signal upgrades at intersections in coordination with GDOT, our partners at GDOT. We use some AI technologies to fill through those. All right, so we're going to take a deeper dive into our transportation infrastructure project categories. These projects are funded by our ORA bond. It's a $120 million program that we currently manage. So we have a lot of activations within this body of money that we're using to facilitate those. So ATO DOT, in partnership with our other stakeholders, we're focused on the delivery of these below infrastructure improvements prior to World Cup 2026. And partnership would be extremely crucial to ensure timely delivery of these needed improvements. So some of these buckets include wayfinding, lighting, resurfacing, restriping, our sidewalk and ADA ramps, and our signals. So I'll take a little deeper dive into our wayfinding. What you see on the screen is one of our IKEs. These locations are programmed to be installed by all by World Cup. And I think we've probably done more than 90 since this presentation was created. Has use of park technology and other street activations to support pedestrian and multimodal connectivity. And I'll get into some of our other static activations, but this particular one, you see the Atlanta Streets Alive photo here. It is basically to allow to get pedestrians instructions and information about how to reach this particular event. Some wayfinding elements to it as well. So this is some of our proposed wayfinding sign family. Me and Ryan were talking earlier, we're going to try to improve or activate some of these different sign family types. So we have some large and small monoliths, which are going to have a lot more detailed information about particular areas or places within the downtown district for people to go. So it'll assist the Ikes, as far as getting pedestrians where they want to go. We have some pole and post mounted signs that we're going to be installing as well. Landmark IDs, and we do have two particular renderings of the wraps that we want to do with the utility art and signal boxes. As I mentioned earlier, our Light Up the Night program in partnership with Georgia Power, we had over 2,000 upgrades completed in downtown, and we're currently in the process of installing 150 new street lights. And we're also evaluating more opportunities for innovative lighting installations. All right, next. One of the first projects to kind of kick off was our resurfacing program. So our intent is to resurface 25 centerline miles of corridors. And this also aligns with our long-term planning and development opportunities downtown. For those that we can't get with this particular program, we're going to catch up with through our LMIG program, and that'll be an additional 20 miles of other citywide resurfacings that we'll do before FIFA World Cup starts. This photo, or these photos, is the finished product of our resurfacings around MLK Bridge on the right of Mercedes-Benz, connected to Northside Drive. So that's one that we have 100% complete. The rest of them has challenges that we're kind of working through now. But our intent is to resurface about 25 centerline miles. Next up, we're going to address our restriping as well. So we're targeting corridors with a PCI greater than 50, which means that they're not necessarily at the right condition for us to go ahead and repave. So we'll just activate the restriping for it to increase some pedestrian safety and visibility. And we look to do about 200 intersection crosswalks and lane markings. Next is our sidewalk and ADA ramps program. We're addressing nearly 14 miles of sidewalk repairs and nearly 2 miles of missing sidewalks, including ADA ramps. So about 80 of those are missing. And then we're trying to address the reconstruction of the non-compliant ramps, so those that may be broken or damaged or whatever. So we're looking to upgrade those. Next, our traffic signal program. So we're addressing signal equipment upgrades where needed, as well as detection upgrades, overhead and variable message signs. So our SIGOPS partners at GDOT are assisting us with this endeavor. And here's a map showing a rendering of all the areas around the city that we're looking to address. All right, so some of the other actions and planning underway. Our second submission of the FIFA Mobility Plan is due in October, so our partners at Kimley Horn are helping us with that. We have a Uber Lyft management plan underway that's going to be kind of a guide to help us address the rideshare as we get ready to go through this major event. Try to downplay as much as I can, but I can't. FIFA is a tremendous opportunity, and I'm just blessed to be able to, work with the partners that we have and the team that we have at City of Atlanta to try to deliver these projects. I understand it's going to take a lot of creativity. It's going to take a lot of hard work, but we are working in order to position ourselves as one of those destinations that the world would still like to come and host events with us in Atlanta. We have monthly meetings with GDOT, and we continue to coordinate with our partners. We have so many partners that are coming in to assist us with trying to deliver these projects and activate all of these things that we're trying to do at the city, so we're very appreciative of that. And lastly, Atlanta is a group project, so let's continue to partner to make it a preferred destination for events, tourism, and work, live, and play. So this next slide, I'm going to be honest, I just learned about this like 4 days ago. Like vehicle to everything coordination. So I was telling Kayla as I was about to submit my slides, Commissioner Campbell was like, hey, show this to my engineers and my planning partners. And I'm like, I'm not an engineer or planning partner. But this is very important because it is, as I'll show in a later slide, one of the hot ticket items. So for those who don't know, this is a wireless communication technology that enables vehicles to communicate with other vehicles, infrastructure, traffic lights, and road signs, and even pedestrians. And this tech aims to enhance road safety, improve traffic flow, and make transportation more sustainable. All right, I'm going to use the word collaboration, coordination, whatever nation, a million times during these 4 slides. So I just want to briefly talk about our collaboration with GDOT and the ARC, and how this ensures that transportation initiatives are aligned and effective. These V2X initiatives, they require tons of coordination to integrate technology with transportation infrastructure effectively. And on a regional scale, this comprehensive transportation, it will benefit the entire community. All right, so those in our state and city cooperation on infrastructure deployment is extremely crucial for the effective deployment of V2X infrastructure. And these joint agency efforts work together to ensure that infrastructure supports both regional and urban traffic needs efficiently. And again, these joint efforts create solutions that enhance traffic management in both urban and regional contexts. And I didn't know this fun fact at the bottom, that more than over 2,000 roadside units for freight, transit, and emergency vehicle preemption have deployed throughout the state. All right, there's that coordination word again with our state partners and the importance of coordination, right? Effective coordination with our local governments is very essential for developing standards and enhancing these operations for V2X. And it also helps to establish standards that are crucial for seamless communication amongst various stakeholders. As far as regional coordination, it aids in facilitating smoother V2X operations for improved transportation efficiency. And here's an example with the Summerhill BRT program. I have a rendering here that talks about the importance of transit signal prioritization. And it also enhances the reliability of public transportation by reducing the delays at traffic signals. And priority systems enable public vehicles to move more smoothly through intersections, making transit systems more efficient. And I don't have any detail about Summerhill BRT. That's a Ryan thing. And lastly, the innovative applications and long-term benefits. So V2X technology, it can significantly enhance public transportation systems by improving communication and coordination between vehicles and infrastructure. These solutions enabled by V2X can lead to reduced congestion and improved safety on roadways. And integrating V2X technology into urban planning can create more efficient and sustainable city layouts, enhancing the quality of life for our residents. All right, in conclusion, just use our insights or our shared insights for V2X technologies to provide valuable lessons for public agencies in deployment and integration. Collaboration, interoperability is extremely important for the deployment of V2X. We're all going to have to use innovative funding strategies to support the implementation of V2X technologies in our public sectors. And these applications will play a crucial role in enhancing urban mobility and safety. All right, thank you all. For all questions, please feel free to email me at cpayton@atlantagA.gov. Again, I'm not a planner or engineer. I am coined as a cat herder of sorts with all these FIFA World Cup activations and conversations and talks that I have to have around the city every day. I'm very accessible, very open. If you have any questions, please feel free to me. If I don't have the answer, I will find it for you because that's been my job for the last 4 months. And lastly, please visit our website and follow us on all social media platforms for any up-to-date traffic advisories or anything or happenings around the city. Thank you all so much for having me today, and I appreciate the time that you took to listen to me.
Thank you so much, Kaven. Oh, I'm shorter than him. There we go. No. Okay. And then last up, we've got updates from our partners over at the City of Savannah. Alrighty. So we've got Faye DeMassimo and Steve Henry here with us today. So Faye serves as the Chief of Planning and Economic Development for the City of Savannah. She has over 40 years experience with federal, regional, and local public entities, as well as private sector in development, management, and delivery of multimodal systems. That's a hard word. Complex planning and projects and programs. She previously served for over 2 years as the CEO of the Chatham Area Transit. Prior to CAT, she served as the Senior Advisor, Transportation and Infrastructure to Mayor John Cooper and Interim Director of the Metro Nashville Department of Transportation and Multimodal Infrastructure with Deloitte Consulting, as the City of Atlanta Renew and T-Splosh General Manager, and as the Director of the Cobb County Department of Transportation. She holds a Bachelor's of Science in Public Administration and a Master's of Community Planning and Public Administration from the University of Auburn. Additionally, she is a Fellow of the American Institute of Certified Planners. Faye has participated in numerous leadership programs and community organizations over the years, including Leadership Savannah in 2024, Creative Coast Board, and as a member of the Rotary Club of Savannah. She has been recognized with numerous awards, including being named Engineering Georgia's 100 Most Influential Women list for 2022, 2023, and 2024. Yes. And then Steve is a seasoned No. I did notice Steve did not put in his bio. He's really good at cornhole, if you did not notice last night. No. Steve is a seasoned transportation professional with 38 years of experience in traffic engineering, including over 22 years management with the City of Savannah. Since 2018, he has served as the Senior Director of Savannah's Transportation Department, overseeing the traffic engineering, traffic operations, and street management maintenance divisions. Prior to joining Team Savannah, Steve spent 16 years with the City of Augusta's Traffic Engineering Department. He holds a degree in engineering technology from Augusta Technical College, as well as certifications in local government management from the University of Georgia and traffic signal operations from Georgia Tech. Steve is deeply familiar with the unique transportation challenges of Savannah and is committed to making all modes of travel safer for residents and visitors alike. Under his leadership, the city has made significant strides in implementing a citywide street repair maintenance system and continues to advance Vision Zero strategies aimed at eliminating traffic fatalities and serious injuries. One of his recent accomplishments includes overseeing the design and launch of Savannah's state-of-the-art traffic control center, which opened in March of 2023. And Stephen and his wife of 27 years, Shelley, have called the Coastal Empire home for more than 2 decades. Their son, Shane, recently graduated from Georgia Southern University and is beginning his own career as a transportation engineer. So let's welcome Steve and Faye.
Got it? definitely have it. So Steve and I are going to remain seated because we're going to tag team our presentation a little bit, and we decided this might be a little easier way to do that. But I am delighted. I know we're both glad to be here and talk about the city of Savannah. We are, and share with you. It's interesting because I was going to open with that we are a city that lives big and punches way above our weight. And it was sort of reinforced when I was hearing some of our the other presenters, because you can also find transit signal prioritization, and you can also find V2X planning and so forth in the city of Savannah. So we're gonna share some of our good work and good news with you today. So Savannah is growing. How many people have been to Savannah lately? Excellent. So you know that I think everybody knows about Hyundai now, which is just one county over. 16 million square foot factory employing over 8,500 individuals. That's not even counting all of the surrounding suppliers that are co-locating there. Gulfstream has 11,000 employees. And then the Georgia Port Authority is the fastest growing on the East Coast. Our hospitality industry, we are home to the largest national historic landmark district in the country. And that's as the hostess city, not only of Georgia, but I think we are for the entire country. That's a $4.7 billion industry for us. We host over 10 million visitors a year. So again, smaller city perhaps, but we punch way above our weight. We live big. And then, of course, our residential growth. One of the things that Steve is going to talk about during his part of the presentation is a rapidly growing residential area where we have an $84 million residential network project that he's going to share with you that is going to be serving that area. And it's a great partnership between GDOT, Port Wentworth, one of our sister cities there in Chatham County, and then ourselves. Have you got So for a number of years, we have been a street department. We've had a street department, and Steve has certainly done a tremendous job in terms of the operations and management of our streets and traffic. We are growing and becoming a department of transportation, and what does that mean? We are adding planning, so we'll be a full service Department of Transportation. We'll be adding planning, but we've also already added our first program management contract that is enabling us to deliver within our own department some of these major projects that we're going to talk about today. One of the things that Steve is going to mention to you also, I think, later in this presentation is we are recruiting for the assistant senior director position, and so we hope that that is something that interests some of you. He's got cards for you, so got to make a recruiting plug while I'm up here, right? So it's that position up at the top, a senior civil engineer PE, traffic engineer type. So
you mentioned Savannah is a beautiful place to live.
A beautiful place to live. So Savannah moves. So if we've got a Department of Transportation. We've already told you we live big, we punch above our weight, and we've told you we're growing into a full service Department of Transportation. We also needed a city transportation plan that really could provide the foundation for what we're trying to do and how we're trying to do it. So Savannah Moves is that effort. It is multimodal, optimizing opportunity, vision and values, equity and efficiency, and sustainable and safe. We are working on that development of that transportation plan in a way that both supports the regional or metropolitan, the MPO planning that is done in our region by Core MPO, and also the Coastal Empire Study that Georgia DOT completed about a year or so ago, year and a half ago, that looked at really the major freight and logistics movement, which is a key part of what we do there. In addition, we coordinate this. This is all of our local partners, bringing all the local partners. We have an early deliverable that is a part of that I wanted to mention, and it's on what's the next slide? River Street. So I know if you've been to Savannah, you've been to River Street. And we have our first CID in the state outside of Atlanta. The Savannah Waterfront CID has been formed and is in operation. They are a good key partner for us. And we realized when we started that transportation plan that with the vision that they have for River Street, that beautiful vision needed to rest upon a River Street that worked operationally. You know, you can't, all those great visionary kind of beautiful picture things are great, but the roadways got to work properly. And it's got to work, in this case, for a multitude of users. We have delivery vehicles, cars, trolleys, people on bikes, people on scooters, people on foot, and all kinds of different users and times of day and all those kinds of things. And so we teased out, so that transportation plan that I mentioned is a 12-month, 15-month process, but we teased out an early 6-month deliverable that will be we're looking at River Street, Factors Walk, and Bay Street. If you've been on Bay Street, you know it's interesting as well, because we've got a lot of visitors. That's where a lot of that hospitality industry, you got hotels there and the restaurants and all that. You've also got a lot of big trucks. And so figuring out how for all of that to sort of live together in a operational way, a good operational and safe and efficient way, is going to be a key challenge. So we are teasing out this early deliverable that'll look at some really key operational details for River Street, but then we'll also look at Factors Walk and Bay Street, because they all operate together, and you really can't look at one without looking at them all. Next slide. Another big project we have going on is the I-16 flyover removal. This is a ramp that extends from I-16 to Montgomery Street, includes a section of MLK Boulevard. It was one of those flyovers when the interstate was being constructed that really intervened in the community there, with some pretty negative impacts. Certainly met some transportation demand, but also had some pretty negative impacts on the community there. We are working on, especially with our Civic Center redesign, our West Side development around the arena, and so forth. This was a real need to examine this. We got a congressional, what I still call earmarks, but a congressionally directed spending allocation. And then we also got a Reconnecting Communities grant. We are working in partnership with GDOT. Of course, we don't own the interstates and ramps and all that. Those belong to GDOT. They've been a true partner to us in terms of the interchange modification report update that is currently underway now, and that will serve as the platform for hopefully the removal of this ramp down the road. In addition to that, we've in our SPLOST 8 list, which was just approved, it'll go to the voters this November, we included the funding in that for the actual removal of this ramp. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Steve, and he's going to talk a bit about it. Remember, I mentioned all that residential growth. This is that $48 million project that I mentioned. A great partnership. We're $36 million in locally between Port Wentworth and ourselves, and the balance of the funding is coming from GDOT. So Steve's going to talk a bit about that. This is key not only for the residential growth, but also for that logistics traffic that we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, so this is part of that residential growth. This area is just really blown up. We're way behind on improving the capacity in this area. So Benton Boulevard is a section of road. It runs from city of Pooler city limits all the way to Effingham County. And so the portion you see highlighted here is from State Route 30 to Highlands Boulevard, which will be I think ultimately be a connector for a state route and carry the GDOT project will widen these 2-lane roadways to 4-lane divided is the plan at this point, and be able to navigate and move that truck traffic from State Route 30 to Jimmy DeLoach, which is I think 17 connector. The city, after is also planning its own widening project. So south of Highlands, as Benton continues to the city of Pooler, we plan to also widen Benton Boulevard from a 2-lane roadway to 4-lane divided. And again, the area in this area is just really blown up residential wise, and now commercial starting to fill in, and then you're surrounded bookend by warehouses and a lot of truck traffic in this area. So really become a challenging area, and we look forward to that project in partnership with DOT. And did you want to? So I'm gonna start this piece. Okay. So another project we're looking forward to is going to be 37th Street, but I want to open talking about in February of 2022, City of Savannah passed a resolution for Vision Zero, and in that Vision Zero initiative was a Vision Zero action plan. I do want to reference something that has come out of Vision Zero that I don't have listed here, which is it was a very labor-intensive updating of our radar permit, our list of roads, or LOR, for speed limit or speed enforcement. It was very time-consuming, and so we did a reduction of more than 75 streets, adding 30 streets to the permit that weren't in there previously, and 2 additional school zones. In February, the city staff installed more than 400 signs, mainly lowering speed limits throughout the city of Savannah, and really reminded me that I know why I'm not on social media, because not everybody was very excited about the speed limit being lowered. So, but the plan also identified 37th Street as a high injury network. And it's been a street that's needed improvements of a lot of different areas. It stretches from the 37th Street connector, so if you're on I-16, it's one of your exit ramps, connects you to what is essentially a residential street, and it's a mishmash of 2 lanes divided, 4 lanes divided, on-street parking. It really, and with these medians, you have live oaks that can create some sight lines. Savannah loves its live oaks, but yeah, but they're hard to see through. So we gotta make some steps there to maybe put in some dedicated left turn lanes, and the corridors just needs to be brought up to standards. Sidewalks, ADA pathways, signals, desperate need to be upgraded. Crosswalk, sidewalks, and looking to also implement a V2X technology for this corridor as well.
So I'm going to mention the second part of this. So we also this year, we were successful, as Steve was just describing to you, with a previous Safe Streets for All grant application. It was for both planning and implementation. We just applied for a grant, and we thought it was noteworthy. We wanted to mention it especially to this group. And it's called SAVES, Smart Analytics and Vision Zero Evaluation for Savannah. You know, you got to have an acronym, right? So, but what this is it's a digital twin platform that is for roadway safety audits. We think it will be a critical new tool in helping us to, and we've proposed 3 pilots within it. One is downtown, one is in a more suburban area, and another is in an area that's a rapidly growing area, but just outside of our downtown. It's near Bull Street, if you're familiar, and it's an area where we've had a roadside safety audit request. So we think that this could be a really interesting way to accelerate roadway safety audits for all different kinds of purposes, whether it's around pedestrian movements or turning movements or whatever it might be, or high accident locations. But to use a digital twin platform to be able to load up a lot of data that otherwise, the digital twins can consume a lot of data and a lot of different data sets that can really blend in, I think, a lot of sophistication and a much broader array of data points than we could typically do just in person and by hand. We'll still, of course, need people to interpret all of that, but we're super excited about this particular grant application. So stay tuned, because I hope next year we're back to show it to you and tell you a bit about it, because it will have gotten funded. So
as we get into the last couple slides here, I want to take a moment and thank Faye. So I've been coming to this conference for more than 20 years, and this is the first time I've been on this side of the room. So thank you, Faye.
he has warned me out about it now. Y'all need to know, ever since we put in to do this presentation.
Been coming here so long.
He's done great, hasn't he?
He used to have a lot more hair and less gray. Shane's been coming since he was 3 or 4, and so he's grown up here. So I don't know what it says about me that a transportation conference is one of my happy places, but this is one of my happy places. So really appreciate this opportunity. So Savannah does not have a roundabout, and the race is on to see where our first one will be. I wrote down a note here because I say this often in Savannah. Change is hard. And not everybody understand or appreciate what a roundabout may bring and how much safer it can be for a lot of different modes of transportation. So I'm just going to go over a couple we have in the works right here, and they're really close, in different stages of design, different complexity. This is a residential. It's in a neighborhood. It's two. The roads come in there are two major collectors. But I don't know if you can see under there, the layer of the existing roadway is basically a two-way stop, double stop. It's about 50 yards of just asphalt with a tree stuck in the middle. And it's a high crash location. And it's always just made sense that it could be a perfect spot for a roundabout. It's currently under design with our friends with Kimley Horn. Construction is estimated at $1 million. It would be at 30% in October, and maybe construction by 27. And so we could potentially have cars on this roundabout, hopefully by no later than 2028. So that's where we are for the first one, who is in competition with Louisville Road at West Boundary. Now this is a whole different beast here. This is a part of a stormwater management project, and I kind of managed to slip in. Hey, this would be a great time to put in a roundabout here. There's it's primarily for a bulkhead wall as part of a Springfield Canal widening project. And so if you look here to the left side of your screen is the off ramp for Highway 17. It's the last off ramp you can take prior to going over the Talmadge Bridge and going into South Carolina. Less than a mile, really less than 3/4 of a mile from this intersection is the Savannah's Arena that opened in 2022, 8,000 plus arena. To the east, you got the Visitor Center. To the south, you got SCAD properties and housing and a middle school. And to the north, you got down, heading towards downtown Savannah and other SCAD properties. So it's a very challenging intersection because we're really limited on capacity. So on the north side of the intersection, it's actually a viaduct. It's a historic viaduct built in 1853. So they'd rather us not touch that. So we're limited to a lane in each direction. You got 3 lanes under there. Currently, one of them's being used as pedestrian, and then you got a northbound, southbound lane. To the east, you have a historic walk. It's hard to walk around in Savannah without bumping into something historic, but we got a lot of historic structures, and we're trying to keep them intact. And it just makes sense that a roundabout here can help manage that traffic. If you look at that lower layer there, you can see the eastbound traffic, even in this aerial, is past the off ramp of the highway. So really congested. Got a lot of new developments happening in that area that is contributing to that congestion. So we're looking forward to this project. It is under design, and it is actually on a similar timetable that other intersection is that we hope to have a little closer to completion in 2028. And we got any questions? Except for the changing.
Yeah, it looks like we have about 5 more minutes left. So if anybody has any questions for anybody up here, I would ask if you can run over to this microphone. But does anybody have any questions for our group here? Not a one? Okay. You got one? Could you come over to our mic over here?
Microphone bully, I love it.
For the ATL DOT for the next gen bus, how's the timeline for this whole initiative and how much you can see before the 2026 World Cup? And the second one is for the green initiative or alternative fuel, how much you can see in the bus. I think you shared a slide for the electric bus, but how is the extent, how much we can expect in this under this initiative?
Sure. Not sure this is working. I'll try to project. All right. Thank you. As far as timing for our bus network redesign.
Switch.
Okay. Timing for the next gen network redesign is really we're hoping to launch it towards the end of the year. We've been in the preparatory stages for a while already, just while we were trying to wrap up the design on it. But it's a pretty aggressive launch. But yeah, we're hoping to launch it right around the turn of the new year. And then as far as the Summerhill BRT electric vehicles, so I'm not sure I caught your entire question. We have, I think, 6 electric vehicles coming in for the Summerhill BRT. Everything on that route will be all electric. And we are starting to integrate electric vehicles in just kind of regular 40-foot electric buses throughout the rest of our fleet. And it'll be used in certain places, and we have a fleet transition plan too that I'm probably the wrong person to speak about, but that we are working on.
Any plan for automatic bus?
Not that I can really speak to. I know that we are also partnered up as far as the Aerotropolis or the Airport CID's personal rapid transit, so it's something we're certainly watching, but at this juncture, not in the near future for the new network. And then you had part of the answer, Caitlin, I think, for FIFA. Okay, I'll try.
All right, any other questions before we wrap up? Okay, if you could come over to our mic over here so we can make sure we hear you. No.
Will you have to increase your fares to implement the new network?
No, so fares are going to remain constant, although anybody who's ridden MARTA over the last 20 years may be familiar with the Breeze system that we use to collect fares. That's getting replaced, but there's no change in cost. And the network as a whole is pretty close to resource neutral, so we're not expecting a large increase in cost from the next gen project either.
Alrighty, one more?
Right here. Don't forget, Steve is hiring.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you guys so much again for giving us your updates, and thank you all for your time. So let's give them a big hand.